Be a short video on pros and cons of an HPI Sprint 2. I've had this car for about 2 months now, so I'm pretty sure I can verify what's good on it, what's bad, what works, what doesn't, that sort of thing, and also what upgrades I've done to this particular vehicle. This is the Falcon Porsche edition of the Sprint 2. It was originally brushed, it's now brushless. I really like the body. It was probably my best pick, my highest pick for all the Sprints offered. Body's held up really well too. I do have some road rash kind of from the walls of the track I go to, other people's cars, that sort of thing. But no cracks, no big dents anywhere. It's just all cosmetic stuff. The wing is holding up well. I did adjust it a little bit, but body seems well. It's got a rear diffuser. It's a separate section of the Lexan body in the rear there. Don't know how well you could see that, but it's kind of a separate subsection. Body's holding up well. The tires, I've been using them, like I said, for about 2 months. They don't have any, I mean, they're slick, so it's kind of hard to judge the wear on them, but they seem fine. They're holding up good. They got good traction. Good traction on the road, not so much on, like, let's say, carpet track. I was sliding all over the place with them, but for the street, they hook up really well. They're staggered, wider tires on the back, narrower tires on the front. Sprint chassis has been around in HPI for a while now, so there's a ton of different configurations when it comes to motor ESC wise. Mine originally came with an HPI, I believe it's a SC15 waterproof brush ESC. I replaced that with an Ace 40 amp brushless ESC I just had it laying around, and it came stock with an HPI 15 turn sealed cam brush motor. Don't know how well you could see in there, but it's now a Ripper 3300 kV brushless motor. Stock servo was pretty much, I mean, it's okay. It's an RTR servo. It's not going to be great, but I replaced it with a savox SC1251MG. It's a low-profile, high-speed servo. I think that really improved the turning of the car, obviously. Out of the box brushed. It is claimed to be waterproof. The receiver is in this receiver box that's mounted on the top of the chassis. Radio that comes with it is an HPI TF40. I think it's a solid radio. I mean, it's also, like I said, it's an RTR radio, but it's pretty decent. I'd say it's about on par with most Traxxas radios. It's got a foam ring around the actual wheel for a little better feel. It's pretty well balanced. The wheel does drop down. It's on a little recess, so it is a little more comfortable to hold. 2.4 gigahertz, obviously, runs on 4 AA's. You've got your channel reversing on the side here, power switch on this side. Steering trim, throttle trim, dual rate. I don't know what this channel 3 button would be used for. I don't know what you'd hook up to channel 3 to use this button. But you do have your recessed endpoint adjustments for throttle and steering. It's a pretty solid unit. I don't see any need to replace it anytime soon. It's not the greatest, you know. It does feel kind of cheap, but it's definitely better than, say, the HPI TF11 that comes with the RS4. This thing is just a joke. So it's got a fairly decent radio for an RTR. Wise, I haven't had any issues with this chassis. I actually have not broken any parts yet. Seems fairly sturdy. No part on this seems really weak. There's always a lot of talk about the belt drive on this chassis. People saying that rocks and all that sort of stuff will get caught, especially in the rear here. Get caught kind of in this crevice and then strip the rear belt. I believe HPI has addressed that though, because there is now a hole cut in the bottom of the chassis to allow debris to escape. And there's no more diff housing that would normally go right here that people would always cut out. So now debris is free to exit once it enters that area. I have not had any issues with the front or rear belts wearing substantially faster than they would. I haven't had them strip or anything like that. One thing I have noticed though is if you're driving outside, like on the road, you know, you get some small sand or rocks will actually kick up, and they will get in between the pinion and the spur, and they will actually embed themselves in the spur gear. And then if they don't throw off your mesh, you'll hear a clicking as the spur rotates. And really what you have to do is, what I've done anyway, is pretty much slowly rotate the spur by hand to find a rock, and then get a knife or a very small like Allen tool or something and kind of pick the rock out. It's only happened a few times, but it's really annoying when you have to take the body off and then try to find a rock in one of the teeth and get it out. It's kind of annoying, but it doesn't happen too often, and I don't think it's a real major concern. Obviously if you're racing indoors, you never have to worry about that. The issue I have with this chassis is the battery situation. You have a battery that would mount sideways in the chassis, and it's very limited height-wise. Lengthwise, I believe you could fit a 7-cell stick nickel metal pack in there. But height-wise, if you could see in there, you have the belt running across the top of the battery tray you have to worry about. And it actually gets more shallow towards the center of the chassis where the top plate kind of dips down into the battery tray. So something like a normal 2S hardcase LiPo will not fit in this car. So when I bought this car, I purchased a Traxxas 3300 milliamp 2S soft case. Now it's a lot shorter than a standard 2S LiPo. I just bought this because I knew that this would definitely fit in the battery tray. I'm having no real issues with this. There actually is a little belt wear here from where the drive belt started to peel at it a little, but it's minor. That's from several runs. The battery system is pretty straightforward. You just pull a pin over here, and then this whole assembly kind of just moves out of the way in order for you to put a battery up in there, and then you would just push this part back, reinstall the pin. But yeah, this car will not fit a standard 2S LiPo, and I think that's definitely its biggest con as a car in whole, that most hobbyists have several 2S hardcase LiPo packs, and this will not fit it. And I have about 20 LiPos, and I had to go buy a new one because none of my existing ones fit. So that is definitely the worst part about this chassis as a whole. The car handles very light. It feels like it's a very light car. I don't have a lot of experience with touring cars. The only other touring cars I've driven to compare it to would be an HPI RS4 Sport 3, a Team Associated TC3, and a Team Associated TC4. But compared to those, this feels like a very light car. It feels a little more nimble than those other cars. It's got a very smooth drivetrain, obviously being belt driven, and with the motor mounted sideways in the chassis, you don't have any torque flex on the chassis when you're hard throttle. It will not try to twist the chassis one way or another because the motor is mounted transversely. It definitely handles very well. I come from off-roading, rustlers, slashes, e-revo, stuff like that. So, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with higher-end touring cars, but I was very impressed by its handling. Its top speed out of the box is probably somewhere in the low 20-mile-an-hour range with the brush system and a 2S LiPo. They do come with 2,000 milliamp hour nickel metal 6-cell batteries, but I wouldn't use it. That's nothing someone who's been in the hobby for a while is really going to use, but it will get you by for a few laps at like a track. I would recommend getting a new servo, though. I'm very happy with the savox. Brushless is a very mild brushless system I have in this. Even on a 2S LiPo, I probably wouldn't even break 30. I'm thinking it's about 28, 29 miles an hour, which is perfect speed for the track I go to. It's a very low-speed technical track. But I am very impressed with this car. I have not broken anything on it. The body is still in great shape. Tires are working well for me, and I think it was a really good buy. I really don't have anything negative to say other than the battery situation about this, and I would definitely recommend it.